welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date.
So today we are back with a quick-fire episode on 5 breakfast mistakes, or 5 big breakfast blunders. This is an area that often people struggle with. They have really high expectations. There's a lot of myths around this as well. And hopefully, if you notice that you're potentially doing one of these 5 mistakes and you can use the advice to make it a bit better, it can move you closer to your goals long term. So we'll jump straight in. Number 1, the first mistake I often see with people I work with online is people think that they need to skip breakfast to reach their goals. And this probably runs a tangent with another sort of episode I'll be doing in the future called around fasting. And people believe that they need to skip breakfast to lose weight, to be healthy, and all these types of things, when actually that is not the case. We find that people who tend to skip breakfast will make up those calories, if not more calories, throughout the day, just because they're starting off really hungry and they're managing that hunger for a bit longer, and they get to a point where they're ravenous and then they're overeating. So that's how it can negatively impact people's weight loss or health goals. But also people tend to have poorer concentrations, they'll have higher food focus. It might be linked to their memory being affected as well, or mood. All these different things have been linked in the research, and I've noticed in people. So an easy thing to do would be to have breakfast upon waking, aiming for something that's going to be quite nutritious, got a bit of protein, fiber, something that's potentially got a bit of fat in there as well to help you feel a bit fuller for longer, but having something that's going to be quick and easy for you as well. So it could be a Greek yogurt based one with some berries, some granola in there, maybe some eggs with toast and avocados, protein smoothie with spinach, banana, and maybe a peanut butter in there. There's so many options out there. Finding one's going to fit that's going to suit you, your goals, and your preferences as well. So next up I see is that people who sometimes have breakfast actually start with something that's quite poor in nutrition. That's usually just really dense carbohydrate source, tastes really nice, but actually doesn't help with managing their hunger long term. That they have a huge amount, a really calorie dense, high carb meal, but it's going to be low in fiber, low in protein, low in fats, and actually not long after that they're looking for their next meal because they've not been really satiated from it. And it's seen in the research as well that if we're having something that's going to be high carbohydrate, high sugar, actually we're going to have better off having something that's got high fiber, high protein, high fat content, a mixture of all those, a complete meal that allows us to feel satisfied and satiated long term. So how do we fix this? Like I've said, protein rich options are a great way to go. So having a good protein source at that meal, something around eggs, something that's got maybe smoked salmon could be another option, some Greek yogurt, some vegetables in there, or some fruit potentially, and finding something that's got high protein, high fiber is definitely a good way to go. And then if you add a little bit of fat in there with chia seeds, nut butter or something, or some eggs, again, it completes that meal and makes it more satisfying and satiating long term. Mistake number 3 would be people having bland or boring breakfast. They feel that they need to be quote unquote healthy, and by that they mean that it's going to be the most boring meal possible. Yes, it might be nutritious, but if you're not looking forward to it and you're not enjoying it, you're not really going to stick to it long term. Or you might be looking to follow something up with that, or follow that up with something that you really enjoy that's going to be highly palatable. So again, having something that has a lot of flavour, packs a lot of punch with maybe some spice, having 2 or 3 different options, maybe even more, of hot and cold options as well, that you can move through that really, really excite your taste buds in the morning, match your goals nutritionally, but also really, really excite you in the morning, that you're actually looking forward to it rather than dreading it, putting it off, or you're not finishing it, you're not really getting all the nutrition out of it because you're just checking out halfway through and throwing the rest away. So yeah, adding spices in there, different seasonings can really, really, really make a pretty bland breakfast amazingly tasteful, amazingly exciting, something that you're looking forward to. And again, if you go to the link below on the website, I've got a 5-day recipe book that I've got 5 breakfasts, 5 lunch, 5 dinners and 5 desserts in there, all completely different ones with the macros and everything that can be really, really exciting for you to try. So again, how do you fix that? Spice up your breakfast, some different flavors, add some different food pairings in there, add some different styles of food, some different ways of cooking it, maybe going from Mediterranean to Asia, American, all these different ones that we can switch in that, again, diversify your food palette throughout the week. So number 4 is what we'd call perfection paralysis. So people trying to be super healthy and trying to get the healthiest, most nutritious meal on a plate, or maybe even just thinking about what their favorite influencer or nutritionist online posts and trying to have this really high unattainable standard, when actually just making a small improvement to your breakfast from going from a normal cereal to maybe some slightly different cereal, maybe with some fruit and some yogurt in there, can really, really make it huge steps forward, but it's a small change. So instead of having this really unrealistic standard in your head around what you need to or should be doing, actually just making some small adjustments from where you are. So if you're currently having toast in the morning, 2 slices of toast, maybe throwing some scrambled egg on there, maybe in that scrambled egg throwing a bit of peppers, some vegetables in there, just to diversify, adding some beans on. That makes the meal so much more nutritious, add a lot more flavour and texture to it, and is only going to be a few small changes, rather than feel that you need to have this Instagram perfect smoothie bowl that costs the earth and has really inaccessible ingredients to you and takes an age to make. Actually, starting where you're at, if you like a warm breakfast, maybe you have porridge in the morning, throwing some whey protein there, some berries, some nuts and seeds to top it. Again, doesn't cost the earth, simple few changes, isn't really going to change the time that it takes to make it in the morning, and adds a lot more nutrition to it. Or if you like toast in the morning, like I said, scrambled egg can be a good one with some avocado or some beans on there. Lots of different things you can do. Again, recipe book has all those options in there and doesn't cost the earth, doesn't take very long at all. Anyone can make it, even I can make it, and I'm not a very good cook. That it's just a win-win. So definitely, if you're struggling for ideas, it's something worth looking at there. Last but not least, and this is something that I see often with people is who are going down that overly perfect or too nutritious route, is they're having something with so many different foods in there that is super nutritious, but it's also really calorie dense. And if a lot of people are focusing on managing their health and managing their weight a bit better, actually we might need to reduce some of that nutrition just to reduce the calories, because those calories, whilst they're contain a lot of nutrients, aren't aligning with our values and goals. So like some of these Instagram smoothies or Buddha bowls and things like that you'll all see online, if you actually count the macros with all this cacao, avocado, these berries thrown in, this full fat sort of plant-based yogurt alternative, it might push you up to 700-800 calories. Now if you're a regular sized person with weight loss goals, that could be over a third of what you're aiming for that day, easily over a third, nearly a half of the calories that you're having just from your breakfast, which makes the rest of the day a lot harder. So trying to actually manage the amount of nutrient dense foods we're trying to get in there with our goals with regards to calories, our preferences and all these things like that, actually it's a bit of a balancing act as well. So don't put too much pressure on yourself that you feel like you need to have this super nutritious breakfast, because if we're throwing in lots of nut butters, seeds, maybe some chia and things like that, those come with additional calories as well. So be mindful of your portion sizes. Even if they're healthy, they can contain extra calories in there. Being mindful of how we're actually portioning out that meal instead of eyeballing it, maybe adding weighing scales in there to make sure that we're not pushing the calories too high. And remember that balanced breakfast should fit in with your overall goals, and that includes your calorie goals as well. So quickly whiz through those 5 mistakes again. So people skipping breakfast, not necessary. Don't feel that you have to skip breakfast in order to be healthy. And actually, I find with a lot of clients, we don't have a hard and fast rule whether they should or shouldn't have breakfast. Most of the time they probably have breakfast, but on the odd occasion they might find it easier not to have it. But you don't have to skip it in order to lose weight or be healthy. Number 2 is they are just having a cereal or something that is one macronutrient, so maybe some plain toast or maybe some cereal just with milk, and they're not having an actual meal. They're not having any protein, fiber or fats in there as well, which can really add a lot to the satisfaction of that meal. Yes, there are some more calories in there, but hopefully it'll manage your hunger a lot better throughout the day. Number 3 is that people often have boring breakfasts, so try and make them a bit more exciting. Add some spice and add some diversity of textures, flavors and tastes. Add some different macronutrients in there. Add a different way of cooking it, so grilling it, baking it, or sauteing it. Adding different styles or from all over the world. So maybe some Asian food in there, maybe some American, maybe some Mediterranean, some European dishes. Lots of different things you can try and mix up in there. And like I said, the recipe book in the link below can definitely help with that. Number 4 is people trying to get too perfect with their meals that actually they don't even bother making any small changes, and making these small changes is what actually works. So instead of striving that they need to go from 0 to 60, actually going, right, what do I currently have and how can I make this a little bit healthier? How can I make this a bit more satisfying, a bit more nutritious with regards to my 5 a day? How can I add some different macronutrients in there, maybe some fats, maybe some fiber, maybe some protein in there to help diversify the foods that I'm having that meal? And last but not least, they often try and have this really, really super healthy, nutritious breakfast and disregard the portions and calories in there, which actually, if we're trying to get healthier and manage our weight a bit better, then that plays a big role. So we've got to make sure that all these foods that we're choosing, the portions that we're having, the action behaviors that we're having around our breakfast align with our long-term values and goals too.
So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.